This is a day, a year in the making. This is the pinnacle of our sport. This is a stage that every pro player dreams about being on. And this is a trophy that every fan imagines their team lifting. Over the last year, 22 teams have fought and clawed their way to the top of their regions to make it to the world stage. But only 2 remain. And while these 2 can be proud of the achievements that they have made at this year's World Championship, only 1 can be crowned champion.
Edward Gaming immortalized the name EDG when they defeated T1 in a historic series to raise the very first mid-season invitational trophy back in 2015. Expectations were sky high for the LPL champions, but they have failed to make it past the quarterfinals of Worlds every year until now. This EDG has already broken that curse. And now the only question that remains is if they can earn their spot in the history books once more, as they look to reclaim the trophy for the LPL and become the 2nd team in history to earn both an MSI and World Championship title.
Domination. That's the best description of Damwon Kia there is. Domestically and internationally, Damwon has crushed their opponents time and time again. They are almost unanimously thought to be the best team in the world, and while they're not quite pulling up the Bonjour chairs just yet, they are well on the way to building the next great LCK dynasty. And as Khan steps up for what may be his last series of competitive League of Legends, the reigning world champions will be by his side to give him the international title he's been chasing his whole career.
In 1 hour, 2 teams will walk through this entrance onto the stage for the series they have worked their entire professional lives to reach. In 1 hour, 2 teams will fight to the limit, but only one of them will lift the trophy in the end. In 1 hour, one of Edward Gaming and Damwon Kia will show us why they deserve to be the 2021 League of Legends World Champion.
It all leads to this. Make or break.
Vitality will take them!
A new era is waiting.
What was that?
Make it yours.
Hello and welcome to World's Countdown before our finals in Reykjavik, Iceland. EDG and Damwon Kia were the main favorites going into the event, and today we'll see the LPL and LCK champions battle for eternal glory. For these players, it's not just the biggest moment of their career, it's as they step onto the stage where legends are made in front of millions of fans watching across the globe. I am Dash, and it is my great pleasure, absolutely great pleasure, to be joined by Azael and Kadra live from our studio in Berlin. Gents, we have made it to finals. It has been quite the journey here at Worlds. 5 weeks in the making, but only 2 stand to do battle on that stage, looking for the Summoners Cup.
Not just 5 weeks, 11 months in the making, right?
True.
From start to finish for all these teams, we're finally down to the last 2.
Well, we have arrived at our final destination of Worlds 2021. But before we preview the finals, I think it's right that we take a look back at the journey here, starting with the play-ins.
Yeah, I think the journey in the play-ins really highlighted the LJL and the rise of their region. First time ever making it through play-ins all the way to the group stage. It's just been incredible to see the development of the league over the last couple of years. They're getting better and better every year.
Oh yeah, they definitely are, right? Making it to groups now, the best wildcard region, you have to say, after making it out of that play-in stage. And then any win on top of that was just kind of more prize to their accomplishment, in a sense. So massive step up from the LGL.
I was going to say, and a long time coming, right?
Yeah.
Because this is a team that we've seen on the international stage a number of times, and each time we have that conversation, is Dead FM going to make that next step for the LJL? And this time around, they're able to get it done, push themselves into the group stage. But as we turn our attention to the group stage of the main event, I think you look no further than FPX, the former world champions. kind of floundering and petering out.
Absolutely. I think this is perhaps the biggest gap between expectation and reality for a team at Worlds ever, because coming into this, many people had them as the best team from the LPL. Even though they didn't win, people were convinced Doinb is the best player in the world. This team is going to make a very deep run, if not win. And not only did they not advance past groups, they were last in their group.
Yeah, they were last. And this is a team where we have the Dade Award every year, right? And the Dade Award tends to go to one individual. I think it has to go to the whole team, right? Because in scrims, rumor has it that this team was dominating scrims. 70% win rate, and we heard it from other teams as well. Rumor has it they were the strongest team, but coming fourth in that group, no one expected that.
The Dade Award shop, man, they're out of inventory. They're going to have to stock up for another go next year. But if we talk about a disappointment in groups, I think we have to talk about a couple of pleasant surprises. Number one for North American fans is going to be Cloud9. It's going to be that team that kind of eternally keeps us alive on the international stage, but also Hanwha Life Esports, who didn't have a ton of expectation from the community at large coming in.
Yeah, both these teams have a very similar story where you look at NA and you think TL and 100 Thieves have a massive chance of getting out of groups because C9, group of death. You look at Hanwha Life, you're thinking more T1 and Damwon to be the front runners for the LCK, but from play-ins to quarterfinals for both these teams, huge achievement. I think group stage is where everyone expected them to end up and to fall out of the tournament, but they made the quarters.
Absolutely, and it's been a lot of those runs for Cloud9 have started actually in play-ins, right? They're the team that always seems to do it for NA, and it was so exciting to watch that miracle run. You know, as an LCS fan, being able to surpass FPX and actually get through was incredible.
Now, if we flip to the other major Western region, the EU, I'm going to separate them because I think history has shown us that expectation should exist for this region, right? Oh. And unfortunately, this time around, while matching NA and getting one team out of groups and into quarters, I'd say that's a disappointment for the LEC.
Definitely, right? 2018 finalists, 2019 finalists, 2020 semi-finalists, and this time they fall in quarters with only one team. This time 2 years ago, every single European team made it out of groups in 2019. This time around, only one. Mad Lions were the ones to make it out. Fnatic had their issues. Rogue lost the tiebreak of C9, who was the better team on the day, and Mad Lions drawing Damwon in the quarters. We knew there was very little hope in that best of 5.
That one's not bad.
They're not bad.
I do think too, though, it's a good note, right, that the LEC, in a sense, was not dealt the best of hands when it comes to the Fnatic issues that plagued them, unfortunately. So still managing to get the #1 seed out and into the bracket stage, of course, facing defending world champions.
It was close, but we made it.
It was close, sure. But as we talk about bracket stage, then I think we've talked about it a bunch already, but it needs to be re-hit. The fact that we had 2 5-game semifinals, we saw 10 games across last weekend, which previewed an incredible matchup today.
I mean, we've already had the most 5-game series at Worlds in history, and we haven't even played the finals yet. So maybe we'll get lucky. We'll get another one today.
One more, baby.
It has been so exciting to watch. I mean, I have to say, when you talk about the semifinals, though, T1, Damwon, that is going to go down as one of the great series of all time. The level of play, the storylines, how close it was. That's something I'll treasure forever.
I mean, the whole thing came down to an Elder Dragon in Game 5, a stare down between 2 teams. Yes, Damwon had slight control of the river, right? But this was the objective that would define the series. Similar to the EDG RNG series, where one Baron steal defined the whole series, the T1 and Damwon was on a knife's edge.
Yeah, some people would look at those 3-0 quarterfinals that we had and go, oh, another dominant kind of bracket stage, or at least the way it looks. But EDG having to run with 5-game series all the way to the finals, and then Damwon now being pushed, as you mentioned, with that incredible historic series against T1. This year, we have seen history made not only by the players, but also by the champions, with the most unique champions picked ever at a World Championship so far. Kobe's going to walk us through the main highlights.
That's right. We have had 92 unique champions picked or banned at Worlds already this year. By far the most at a World Championship we have ever had, and the second closest was only 82. It's been such a fun journey following the development of the meta and these unique adjustments made by different players. If you remember, we first started out with all this hype coming in around Tryndamere mid and a Mumu support, which quickly died out, and the Sad Mummy ended up with a 3-8 loss record. But the better half of that Sad Bullet Time combo lived on in Misfortune, who actually remained the most picked champion for the entire main event, with teams making use of her strong lane phase, the high move speed from Strut to rotate between objectives and plays, and of course, that teamfight ultimate and wave clearing ultimate that has so many uses. And Misfortune ended up being paired with several different partners. From Leona's hard CC kill combinations to Yuumi, who led the charge once we got to groups, bringing in some of that scaling threat of enchanters back in to buff up their AD carries and assassin picks alike, putting huge threat on those backlines. And this took Yuumi from hotly contested pick to straight up permaban in all 10 games of semis. As for the mid lane, we had Twisted Fate, LeBlanc, and Ryze dominating. And yet, even with their power so evident, several teams went very far, embracing their own style instead of conforming, namely Gen G. Superstar BDD never played Twisted Fate or Ryze a single time in this tournament, and yet still had some of his best performances ever, sticking to his tried and true champions like Zoe and Ryze. Meanwhile, we also had players like Cryan, who are limited in some ways, but went so far as to pick Annie rather than give up on their roaming and crowd control heavyweights to set up his own team, and even ended up drawing an Annie ban in the quarterfinals of the World Championship. And then, when you think you've got it all nailed down, we get more innovations. In the semifinals, at support role, we had Barrels Maokai, providing zone control and extra sapling vision for Damwon picks, as well as Keria then answering with a Zillion pick of their own from T1, countering all-in burst damage, as well as scaling very well into the late game, providing that extra speed boost to Jhin to make him a truly offensive threat. Which leads us all the way to the finals here between Damwon and EDG, where some bot lane preferences have really taken over the spotlight, namely that Jhin we mentioned, as well as Ziggs for Ghost, these long-range champions, providing lots of utility and options for the team. Meanwhile, the Nami Lucian for EDG who have really aimed to dominate that bottom lane. And if EDG show their overwhelming preferences that they have so far this tournament, Graves top 9 picks, J4 jungle 8 picks, Ryze mid 6 picks, I do expect Damwon to put huge pressure on that top side of the map with solo lane counter picks. We've seen Showmaker's LeBlanc already, Khan's Kennen and Jace having success. But really what I want is some more spicy picks, maybe a Yasuo or even Cassiopeia counter pick from Showmaker mid, or Khan going back to his roots with some style, some Riven, some Fiora. One thing's for sure, we have seen players dig deeper into their champion pools than ever before. And I'm excited to see if there are any more surprises left in store for us.
92 champions picked and banned in this World Championship so far. But I'm with Kobe. I want to see what else people have to pull out here in our final 5 games.
Well, Showmaker had the interview with Horizon where he was saying he's still got lots more in his bag of tricks. So I'm hoping we're going to get
97, Showmaker.
Yeah, I really think the T1 pushed Damwon, right? They picked so many different champions and they had to really push themselves into what they want to pick and how to adapt, whereas EDG just kind of kept falling back on comfort and sticking to what was working. This is the last best of 5 they're going to play all year. Give it everything.
That's the thing, right? Leave it all out on the Rift here in this final best of 5. At Worlds, we've watched the best players around the world battle it out, which led to some epic plays. So let's look back at the best of them in the Axe 0.01% effect replay.
Look at the poke coming out from the Mad Lions. The wave is there. LNG are committed.
For Armut, a big dive. GA popped. Icon Sonya's. Tarzan low. Tarzan dunk is gonna miss, and Karzi kills him. The base is alive, but life is not. Humanoid on the chase.
Very scary pushing out these waves.
Oh, Josh built for FBI, but it wasn't quick enough, and that means he's just instantly taken down.
Can they keep him away? It's at 2K. They can burn this down. They find the first bit of CC. Oh, Jay, who claims it? Does it happen again? Will we get another Baron steal? Oh, it does it again! We do! Again and again!
Battling against LWX, that's the bullet time. He's taken down relatively low, but Nogari's teleported in. That's the curtain call, and Hansama doesn't have a whole lot of places to go. He's playing some DDR pretty decently here, as now he gets himself out.
Oh, they have to burn through him. They have to kick him back. They have to use every form of CC known to man. They punch him into the fountain. Oh, it goes through that.
I told you they're gonna flip the channel to the BDD show. The BDD show keeps on rolling.
Coming in, Khan has flash, slices and dices up the Mad Lions, and they did not respect Khan. Damwon Kia cleaned the Lions off the map.
The hope is alive for Rogue.
Stunned into the hook. Larson almost down, but he pops the stopwatch just in time. Supreme Talon will come out. It's a double for Khan. Benny, the hope was there for Rogue, but immediately it's slammed right back in their faces. Canyon and Khan can do no wrong. Hansama tries to get away, but Khan gets the Quadra. He TPs. Couple more shots. A penta for Khan.
No better way to end than on a penta for Khan in his final world championship.
How about a world championship?
I mean, yeah, well, no, for him, there's a better way to end it.
better.
I'm just talking about this set of plays. For me, though, while it didn't amount to much or really result in anything changing, the headbutt or the kick into headbutt of the Tryndamere into the fountain has to be one of my favorite plays of the entire World Championship.
Yeah, kind of saved the base as well, so it was such a big play. I think my favorite is for sure the T1 Damwon Series Game 2 where they stole Baron, owner on Lee Sin, and then they cleaned up and they won that game.
I don't know how many times I have to watch BDG just ruining NA hopes with that Zoe.
Yeah, I'm trying to forget
That's a terrible play. Who put that in there? Get that out of there.
Alrighty, well, we're going to step away for a quick break, but make sure you stick around because after the break, we're heading to the ground in Iceland for some reactions.
What are you willing to lose? You cover your wounds, but underneath them a million voices in your head that whisper, stop now. Another twist of the knife, a turn of the screws, it's all in your mind and it's fighting you on yourself. The storm is coming. Wow, kid, what you gonna do now? It's your reflection looking back to pull you down. So are you gonna die today or make it out alive? You gotta conquer the monster in your head and then you'll fly, fly, Phoenix fly. It's time for a new empire. Go bury your demons, then tear down the ceiling, Phoenix fly. And now you're playing with matches, come out of the ashes underneath you. A million voices in the crowd, they're screaming, stop now. Well, let them swallow the pride, you're turning the tide to true believers. Got them in the palm of your hand, you're playing God now. What you gonna do now? It's your reflection looking back to pull you down. So are you gonna die today or make it out alive? You gotta conquer the monster in your head and then you'll fly, fly, Phoenix fly. It's time for a new empire. Go bury your demons, then tear down
Welcome back to the 2021 World Finals. It's been an exciting year for League of Legends, and we're closing it out with the biggest event of them all, the battle for the Summoners Cup. Now, across the last month, 22 teams have given us a spectacle worthy of the greatest stage for our beloved esport. And let's hope that we can share it with you in the arena when Worlds comes around next year in North America. There's a lot to look forward to in the coming months, both on and off the Rift. And for more on the World Championship and the future of Riot Esports, let's check in with Shocks and some special guests in Iceland.
Thank you so much, Dash. I have two incredible guests with me here, John Needham and Naz Alatea. John Needham is, of course, the global head of esports at Riot Games. And we have the newest global head of LOL esports at Riot Games, Naz. Welcome to you both. And first up, how are you doing? John, maybe.
Doing amazing. It's awesome being here in Iceland. The tournament's been great. Been a very busy year, but it's been awesome, man. I couldn't be happier with this event.
I mean, I couldn't be more excited. It's actually my first esports event that I've been live at since 2019 because of the pandemic. So I could not be happier to be here. I think we had an incredible weekend of semifinals. I don't think we've seen more epic, two days of 5 games, right? So just thrilled going into the weekend.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was very, very happy that we got to the full 5 games for both. That doesn't often happen. Now, Naz, I want to talk a little bit about your new role, the global head of LOL Esports. You've been, of course, with the company for almost a decade. You have so much experience, but what was it like taking up this role so close to the biggest event of the year?
Well, first of all, it's a huge honor to step into the role. Like you said, I've been with Riot a long time and part of the team in the early days when we had this vision, to build this sport, and our community has really gone and done it. And so it's really exciting, overwhelming, I'd say, in a good way to step into the role. And I'll have to say, look, I stepped into it, like you said, right before Worlds. All credit goes to the team that's been working and cranking on Worlds. As you can imagine, it's a year-long process, and then some to plan a World Championship. And given the challenges of both 2020 and 2021, the team has done a truly miraculous job of pivoting, and here we are in Iceland, about to head into the World Finals. So.
Yeah, it's all amazing. Now, of course, in your role as global head of esports, it's not just the League of Legends World Championship. It's also everything else we've seen rolled out this year. Valorant, of course, TFT still going strong. Wild Rift. What has that been like? Because all of a sudden, you were the global head of esports, and now I feel like it's become more tangible because they've all rolled out this year.
100%. So, this has been the first full year of Valorant esports. And it's been great. One thing we want is there are some kind of fundamentals of esports we'll always deliver. We always want a high quality show. We always want to innovate with technology and kind of blow our fans' minds. And we also want to maintain competitive integrity all the time with our sports because we take this very seriously. But Valorant has been so cool because the personality is just different than League. It's stylish. The teams are yelling at each other on stage. It's just a lot more competitive.
We're not stylish, John?
No, well, listen, it's a little bit more stylish than League. I'll say that.
It's an FPS, right?
It's an FPS. And so it's just been super fun kind of seeing the personality of Valorant shine through in the sport as well. And then right after Worlds, we're going to do the Horizon Cup for Wild Rift. And I think we're going to have another iteration of a sport that's just going to kind of feel different for our fans. Because at the end of the day, we want to deliver a sport that our fans expect. And the fans are different for each of these games. So we're trying to be very flexible while keeping our fundamental principles and how we do things.
Yeah, it's turning into an all-encompassing lifestyle almost, right? There's something there for everyone. And I think that also goes for Arcane. That's about to be released and all the activations we saw around the final specifically, Naz. What has it been like trying to set that up? Because from a fan perspective, overwhelming. There is so much to look at, so much to do, and so much to look forward to for the final.
That's really the hope, right? I think what's so exciting is in the last year, right, there's more kind of expressions of the League of Legends IP than there ever has been before. And so for fans or even audiences who haven't played League of Legends, there are more ways to come into our universe. And for us, we really see it as our job to deliver a sports entertainment experience that draws those fans in, that engages them and really makes it delightful, right, to be a fan of those sports. So I think it's going to be really exciting to see what an Arcane, what Wild Rift does for League of Legends esports fandom, my guess and my hope is that we kind of have a whole new swath of fans who are about to enter the sport.
I want to ask you about a couple of things, and I don't know how much you can say. Naz, I want to start with the show open presented by MasterCard, which we've already seen the video for and the artists that are involved. Can you give us a little bit more of a sneak peek somehow? Or
no?
No? How excited are you for it?
It's going to be epic.
Yeah.
I will promise you that. Like you saw the lineup of artists. We have Imagine Dragons back.
Yes.
You know, they I think threw down the gauntlet for us in terms of opening ceremonies in 2014, and we've just continued to try to kind of bring that epicness to the show open since then. And so we're thrilled to have them, and also of course to welcome the 2 finalists to the stage. But no spoilers, no.
No spoilers. I like that. You know, we're going to it blind. Can you tell me anything?
Sadly, I can't.
Sadly not.
Sorry.
We're not too far away from it now, though. So let's focus on our finalists then. We have Damwon Kia and we have EDG, a representative from the LCK and the LPL. How happy are you both with that as the global head of esports and LoL esports?
I couldn't be more thrilled. First time we have 2 #1 seeds.
Yes.
EDG, that's just been trying for so long to get in finals, and I'm super happy for them. And Damwon, I mean, they are just an absolute force. You know, I just haven't seen team fighting like that team does it before. So it's going to be a thrilling finale, I think.
And the idea of Damwon Kia being the repeat champion, kind of that new dynasty, that's very exciting.
This is where dynasties are built. I think it's always really exciting to see rival regions, right, at the end in a world final. So we're really, really excited for Saturday. I've been watching videos and seeing photos of LPL viewing parties, you know, in China, and the fans around the globe are excited. So it's going to be a great showdown. Yeah.
Let's hope for 5 games, a slugfest, great quality of games.
100%.
Let's, you know, have the longest best of 5 possible. I would sign up for that. Thank you both so much. Looking forward to all you will bring us in the next couple of years. And thank you for the interview.
You've been doing an amazing job this tournament.
Oh, thank you very much. Awesome. And back to you.
Thank you so much, Shocks. Definitely a bright future for League of Legends esports. And at the helm, we have again the LCK. With Damwon picking up the World Championship last year, 3 of our LCK teams in the semi-finals this time around. I'm joined by none other than Atlas, who will be casting the World Finals later today. But how does it feel to know that the LCK is back on top, my friend?
Feels pretty amazing. I don't want to gloat too much, as people would assume that that's probably what I want to do right now. But I'm so proud of both Damwon and T1, but I think that they were expected to do really well. I want to talk about Gen G and Humble Life just for a little second, because I couldn't be more amazed with their performances this year's Worlds. And it's been just incredible to go from this region where it feels great to be a Damwon fan to a region that it just feels great to be a fan, right?
Right. I mean, so yeah, there you have it, right? We've expanded beyond that idea of a one-team region.
Yeah.
It seems to a degree the LCK had adopted as a persona. But I do have to illustrate, or even pinpoint, the fact that there were a couple of years of drought there for the LCK. 2018, 2019, definitely some struggles. But it makes this period almost feel a little sweeter.
It does. It's almost like it's the big elephant in the room, right? Because I feel like the expectation for the LCK over their years of dominance just kept mounting and growing. And that didn't stop when we got to 2018 and 2019. I felt like, you know, teams like KT moving in with their super team in 2018, not being able to perform, then only added extra gravity to the T1 super team that was put up in 2019 and then was also falling short internationally. The teams and players in Korea just had so much expectation and pressure on them that I couldn't have imagined how it must have felt to not be able to deliver after so long being at the top.
I mean, when you're the first region to create a true dynasty, a true era of dominance in an esport, right? You're going to carry the weight of those expectations really for the eternity of the existence of that esport. And I think while we will get to, and we do want to talk about what lies ahead of Damwon, I think we have to talk a little bit about how they've been tested already. And they've been tested by the very team that they're looking to join in that kind of godly sense of the League of Legends world, being tested by T1 already. But that era of dominance, the 3 championships that T1 picked up over the course of 4 years, that's what they're chasing.
Yeah, and it's a really difficult topic, right? Because you've got a lot of people that want to jump on the Damwon Kia hype train, but I think that we all need to take a little bit of a step back and realize just what was achieved by teams like T1 as well as Samsung, of course, with very different rosters, but still the same organization across that 5-year period of LCK dominance. But it was FLICKR's SKT. It was this T1 roster that was just so extraordinarily powerful for all that time. They did manage to win the back-to-back finals in 2015 and 2016, but I think it goes beyond that. They felt inevitable. It felt like there was no other team that could even stand up to this squad. So being able to compare what Damwon is doing now to that is a very difficult prospect.
Yeah, and we're definitely still not there, right? There is some work to be done for Damwon, but let's talk then about the best of 5 that they have in front of them, looking to be only the 2nd team in organization to do back-to-back world titles. How are you feeling about their chances and them as a team overall?
I mean, I think that their chances are extraordinarily good, but I don't want to say anything before, you know, the dance is done. But if they can win here, then I think that they will be restarting that LCK legacy, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
All right, well, thank you so much, Atlas. I look forward to hearing your World Finals cast in just a few minutes, well, more than a few minutes time, 30 minutes-ish time. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see if the beginning of that new era of LCK dominance is around the corner. Now, to learn more about what today's final really means, for the LPL, we're going to hand it over to Shox, who's standing by with the LPL host Candice on the ground in Iceland.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Candice, the host of the LPL, to talk about Edwards Gaming Road to the Finals. Candice, first off, what can you tell me about the importance of EDG making it to the finals this year?
I think it's super important and crucial for us because one of the LPL team finally got into the final, and also they are the first seed of LPL, so that proves that we're not that bad, actually.
Not that bad, I'd say very, very good indeed. Now, EDG is, of course, one of the most established organizations in the LPL and in the world. What can you tell me about their domestic success?
Edward Gaming was founded in 2013, and they have won the most LPL championships with 6 trophies and 1 MSI championship, and alongside with the third-party championships. So I kind of like to say they built a kingdom domestically at that time.
Absolutely did, and they won so much, and you mentioned it already. MSI 2015, the international success came almost immediately.
Yeah, I think everyone should remember the epic Game 5 they played against SKT was Cleo Love's pocket pick, Evelyn, and also Pound's Morgana versus FLICKR's LeBlanc. So I think everyone should remember that, and they won their first MSI trophy back, and this is the first international kind of championship since IPL 5.
Wow.
Right.
So
it's super
long
important.
Time. A long time in the making. And I think we're all a bit familiar with the curse, I should say, of EDG.
Yeah.
We thought after MSI 2015 they would just keep racking up the wins, but that's not what happened.
The old meme was that EDG performed really good domestically, but never performed that well internationally. But I'm very glad that in this year, they kind of broke the curse, the quarterfinal curse. And I think this year's slogan, make or break, suits Edward Gaming super well. They broke the curse and make the history.
Absolutely, and they're in the finals. Now, if we take a step aside from EDG before this year, it wasn't going too well for them. There was the quarterfinal curse, but luckily for the LPL fans, some good things happened, right? 2 world championships back-to-back.
Yes, EDG is one of the LPL representatives, but this is the 4th consecutive year for LPL team make it to the World's Final. And in 2 of the 3 World's Final, a LPL team took the trophy home, right? So with IG and FunPlus, their success kind of built the confidence inside LPL that we should be more confident on the international stage.
I'm really glad that Europe was able to help you build that confidence in those 2 finals. But talk to me about Edward Gaming this year. How did they start this year, and what changed about their roster and their journey towards Worlds?
I think they have put a lot of work into that, and also I think Edward Gaming is fast learning team during the group stage. They learn very fast with their drafts and all kinds of things, but now they're in the semifinal, and quickly they will be in the final. They should put up a good fight against LCK teams. And as for the LPL fans, a lot of people think maybe we should be the underdog when we play against LCK teams. But there is another point of view that we already overtaken the LCK as the first region, but I'm not very sure about that. But for this year, I don't think we have painted a picture of LPL dominance because we only have one LPL team in the semifinal, right? So we didn't expect that at all. Yeah. But I'm very glad that EDG, they keep up the honor of LPL to make it to the final.
To make it to the final, indeed. I like that spicy take about maybe already have overtaken them. Finally, we're super excited for this final. And I've heard that the fans in China are going absolutely crazy.
Yes, because there's a lot of watch parties in different cities in China. And those watching parties are full of audience and fans. They're cheering for EDG. Even there is some guy to wave the flags in front of the crowd and cheering for EDG. And other than that, there are a lot of university students. You can see the virtual videos, the students sending their support to EDG and LPL with the signs overhead during their freshman military training week. So it's really incredible to see those kind of like supportings or cheerings. And the others will be the students shaking the building with their like booming voices. I'm kind of shocked about that kind of things, but those kind of things kind of remember me of the 2017 Worlds in China. So it's a pity that we cannot have the Worlds in China this year. We would like to show our passion and enthusiasm in this year's, or would like to show to the world.
Oh, we definitely miss that passion coming out of the fans. Thank you so much, Candace, for that excitement and also the insight into EDG. We're gonna throw it over to a short break, but we'll be right back.
This ain't where the legends come from. You know what a hero looks like. Pretty little flower, won't you sit back down and go play nice? So keep talking, keep laughing. One day you'll wish you hadn't. Other people on fire, fire. Maybe it's time they meet their dragon. If you're gonna hold me down, you're not gonna let me in into your castle walls. None of you can keep them. 'Cause if I gotta burn it all down,
일단 모든 팀원들이랑 뭐 코치님, 감독님, 그다음에 저희 프런트 분들까지 다 열심히 노력해서 갈 수 있었다고 생각합니다.
我们主要是心态能稳住吧，然后我们的每个选手都比较强的吧。
지금 매우 차올라 있는 상태고 결승전 때 꼭 좋은 모습 보여드릴 수 있도록 열심히 하겠습니다.
觉得这一次该要打到决赛吧，然后我不希望错过这次机会。
정말 짜릿하고 빨리 결승전을 하고 싶습니다.
挺有自信的吧，只要我们做好，我觉得是能赢。
Welcome back to Worlds 2021. We just heard the players describe their road to the finals thanks to our friends at Oppo. And it's only fitting that the reigning LCK and LPL champions are the ones left standing.
As always is, isn't it? Unless Europe's there, it's LPL versus LCK or LCK versus LCK. We saw it last year. Went in favor of Damwon. Can EDG break that?
Yeah, absolutely. Also matching up, in the MSI finals, LPL, LCK, it is very historic. For EDG, though, this is not the norm. Though LPL has been having a tremendous amount of international success over the last couple of years, EDG has not enjoyed that success themselves. They're the most domestically dominant team ever in the LPL, but this is not only their first World Final, it was their first semi-final, and they're just having this incredible run.
Yeah, and they've had splits in the LPL where they go like 16-0 and they dominate the finals. They 3-0 the finals, they come in and then they just bomb out in quarterfinals. EDG is the team that you always doubt, it feels like, right? Finals of the LPL, FPX is going to win. The RNG EDG series, I think most people kind of thought RNG had that series because RNG and FPX were the front runners for the LPL. Now they're in the finals, I think most people are thinking Damwon's going to win, so the underdog story is doing them pretty well.
Absolutely. I mean, they've had this historic run already. 2 5-game series, back-to-back. They've had to claw and fight their way here, and they're looking to become the second team ever to win both MSI and Worlds.
I think that's a big point. And of course, it hasn't been an easy road. Second out of their group, 5-game series quarters, 5-game series semifinal, and now they challenge the defending world champions in Damwon Kia. You already called them the favorite, at least by most people's standards, Kadril. Let's talk about this squad.
Oh yeah, because if you think of Damwon 3 years ago, this was Challenger's career. Reckless said in an interview in 2018 at the World Championship, we're scrimming 2 teams, Griffin and Damwon. And Damwon is now on the cusp of winning back-to-back world titles. In the Kesper Cup, the remnants of that roster, Canyon and Showmaker, all the way from 2018 to 2021 as their star players.
And I think it's so incredible to think about how meteoric their rise has been. From that team that's not even in the LCK to this team that has ran the LCK over the last 2 years and been so incredibly dominant internationally as well. They're being talked about as some of the greatest players of all time. Canyon here, if he wins a world championship, only one other jungler ever has more than 1 world championship.
And I think part of becoming, or rather retaining that label of best players of all time, you've got to win multiple titles, and even better to do it back-to-back. But while the majority of the squad, the core of the squad is looking for those back-to-back titles, Kadril, we're looking at Khan as well, still searching for that first.
It's his last dance, make or break. He's going to leave a world champion or a world finalist when he leaves at the end of this year. This will be the last best of 5 he ever plays at an international stage, even in League of Legends at all.
And I think he's been in some of the best form of his career, which makes it the perfect time for it. Everything feels like it's coming together for him to have this incredible moment. He was so dominant in the laning phases, through groups, through knockouts. He has the team supporting him, and he is looking incredibly strong.
For me, that's the best part of it, right? That if he does take a world championship here, he'll do it in some of the best form he's ever had in his career. Now, Damwon Kia made it to the finals thanks to a crucial fight around the Elder Drake in Game 5 versus T1. And here's another look in our State Farm Assist of the Week.
Hold on tight, because we're barreling right into this Assist of the Week presented by State Farm. With one fight standing between Damwon Kia and the Grand Finals, Beryl made a grand entrance, opening up the fight so the rest of Damwon Kia could cut down T1.
3K getting lower, going all the way, trying to lock up the but who's going to get it? No! In the end, it is Canyon. When it matters most, you will find this fight. Megumi usually standing strong on the backside. It does not matter. In the face of the Elder, Damwon Kia.
Now, Beryl played a pivotal part in that team fight on the Rakan, and lucky for us, we've got Kadril, who looked a little closer at Beryl and his performance here over the past couple of weeks, and he's going to help us understand it all in this edition of State Farm Neighborhood Tactics.
Yeah, as a viewer, we tend to see the big flashy plays, the team fight setups, the 1v1s, the 2v2s, but there's a few small things you tend to miss on the build-up to those plays, and one of them was Beryl. Now, there's 3 clips we're going to look at from 3 games in that T1 series, and the first one might not stand out as anything something very different, right? Very standard thing happening here. He's running mid with his AD carry, Herald is just spawning in a couple seconds, and the setup is good. Showmaker will move towards the top side, as we can see, and he will get the XP on the mid wave. Now notice how he gets level 6 just as the wave dies, and Keria doesn't. So he moves to the objective, and you have a level 6 support versus a level 5 with engage ultimates, which are so pivotal. Now, this first clip doesn't look very astounding, right? It's just a support running mid. But as you look deeper into the series, it just gets to tend more of a trend. As we see in the second game, he's playing Alistar. And this time around, his mid laner is actually in base. He left him. He's left alone in mid. Now, it's very unusual for a support to just push the mid wave, but he does it intentionally to get level 6.
Hard flamed in solo queue for that.
Oh, you would get hard flamed for sure, but he does it intentionally to get level 6 on the wave. Perfect timing to run towards the Herald, while the enemy support is level 5 once again. And the third one was the most important. Game 4. Beryl on Rakan, and this is the one where it becomes the most obvious, where we see it, where Showmaker intentionally leaves Beryl, and let's just keep our eyes on his experience bar at the bottom and see how close he is to level 6 for this Herald fight. Now, all of these plays are at 8 minutes into the game. Herald is just about spawn. The last caster creep, he hits level 6.
That's disgusting mathematics right there.
And then what's the scariest thing in this entire fight? It's the level 6 Rakan zoning away the whole of T1. Support advantage on level 6 3 games in a row. This time around, the Lulu was 6, but the positioning of the Rakan and the timing is perfect. And I think this is something we can keep our eye on in the Damwon series to see if, you know, Beryl does come mid at 8 minutes to get the level 7 mid wave and get level 6 for the Herald.
Now, so often in League of Legends, we talk about the gold leads, we talk about the item advantages, but just as important, the experience. You know, the ability, as you mentioned, to pick up that ultimate right on the cusp of a team fight and be the difference maker of an extra ult versus, you know, versus none on the other side when it comes to those support engages.
And when you see something like that happen once, it can be coincidence. When you see it happen every single time, you realize the planning that goes into this, and that is what really separates the good teams from the great teams, is these little things that they do consistently to find an edge, realizing, hey, I'm exactly one wave of experience off, this can change the game.
Now, Beryl definitely looking in top form moving into this World Championship, a lot like he did when they took the last one. But he's just one piece of a bigger conversation, which is the bot lane between these two squads. Kedra, let's start there.
Yeah, EDG's bot lane, definitely the biggest win condition for them. Viper and Mako were fantastic in that 5-game series, getting back-to-back so many kills in lane itself and so much aggression coming out of it. I mean, the team drafts around their bot lane so heavily and plays around their bot lane, and it comes with so much success.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, when you're looking at them, they have to have this kind of a series to really be able to compete against Damwon. They've got to be able to get 2v2 kills if they want to go for that lane prio, play for the Lucian, Nami, play these types of picks. But I think when you're looking at the other side, when you're looking at Ghost, people have given him so much criticism over the year, and I think that, you know, really people need to wake up and realize where he is as a player now compared to where he was at MSI and where he was in spring. He has improved leaps and bounds, and going up against T1, I think we saw that. Going up against this incredible area Gumayusi bot lane, they were expected to get dominated. Well, he died 0 times pre-15, even though he gets way less help from his jungler than his opponents do. I think he's having an outstanding tournament.
Yeah, and it's just interesting the way the map works. What we tend to see is, as we saw in those clips earlier on with support running mid, it's 4v4's topside for Herald at 8 minutes. So you're on a timer of 8 minutes to get those 2v2 kills. EDG's bot lane was able to do so, and everyone thought EDG's bot lane was the best bot lane in the world coming into the tournament, but Damwon have shown that they can nullify bot lanes quite easily.
All right, you take a look at this. As you mentioned, much less help, a 6% jungle proximity to the almost 13% on the side of Viper.
Absolutely, and I mean, his CSD is worse than Viper's, but that's to be expected. Beryl roams a lot more. You know, EDG always was the more lane-focused 2v2 team, even in the LPL when Mako was playing Gage supports. He spent more time around his AD. But the gold at 15, you know, he's getting kills, he's getting plates, he's being able to fulfill the role that his team needs precisely.
Now, speaking of gold, that's where I want to go next. Taking a look at both of these teams by kind of zooming out to see the whole picture of how their previous series went. As we pull these gold graphs up behind us, I just want it to be known for everybody at home that the gold bars are the teams in wins versus blue in losses. We're starting with Damwon Kia.
Yeah, look at Damwon, right? It's slow and steady at the early game, but once they get a lead, they just skyrocket ahead. And even when they're behind, as you can see in one of those lines, they actually pull it back a little bit, right? They try to find ways to get back into the game. And this is remnants that we saw in the Mad Lions series where, you know, they're 8k down, they just start up a Baron, they force you to walk into them, and then Khan has a great position to turn the entire game around. If you compare that on the side of EDG, it feels slightly different where once they start to fall behind, the game just explodes and that's it. And when they have early game gold leads, then they do make it slow and steady, but as you can see it behind us, a little bit more fluctuation in the early game, and then when it fluctuates towards the mid game, it's really explosive on either side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, EDG, I think this is partially partially due to the fact that they struggle with some of their setups around objectives. I think they're not nearly as clean, in how they control vision and how they approach objectives compared to Damwon. When they are winning, they're so much more comfortable in how they want to play out the game. They get priority in lanes, they shove it out. That gives them river control. That gives them an easier in to actually get these setups. And that's why I think the early game becomes so incredibly important when you're playing against Damwon.
I was going to say, especially because you take a look at the two graphs, and at least for me, when we compare the two, the thing that jumps out the most is how divergent this graph here becomes earlier in the game, right? Speaking to the fact that EDG, with a lead, can definitely push the advantage, but also in a losing situation, struggle a lot more to find their avenues back in. Damwon keeping it close for longer, whether it goes one way or the other.
I think that's because in the T1 series, we saw a lot of cross-mapping, where in EDG Gen G, we saw a lot of team fights. So I'm interested to see how EDG plays out the map in this series, because T1 versus Damwon was more like a dance between the teams to just trade off objectives and trade off gold. But I think EDG is just going to throw a punch at Damwon and see what happens.
Well, and I think one of the scariest parts is we saw in Game 5, T1 versus Damwon. Damwon doesn't have to ever fight you to win. They can poke you out, they can choke you out, and make it very, very difficult to play your style.
A scary prospect right there. We've already talked about the bot lanes. Let's hop to the other side of the map and talk top laners. Khan, we've talked about him already. Incredible performance individually throughout the tournament so far. Today, he's got one final opponent to get that Summoner's Cup, and it's Flandre.
This is two Titan veterans up against each other, right? Khan has been to multiple kind of international events. He's been to MSI finals. He's been around. But Flandre has been playing in Snake, for 5 years, then to LNG, and now on to EDG. He's been in the LPL for 6-7 years, but this is his first international events up against a Titan like Khan, who's having a fantastic tournament.
I mean, Khan's lane phase is so incredible, and that is difficult enough to deal with. I do think people were overlooking Flandre a bit as like, he just plays Graves and Jace. Well, he broke that stigma in the semifinals, but also in the LPA. He's played 24 different champions over the course of the year, so he has the flexibility to try to take some swings here at Khan. The difficulty for me is it's a team game, and Damwon's top side work miraculously well together.
Yeah, I mean, he'll play Jason Graves if you give it to him, right? But he's also very willing to jump to some other things, and the way that top lane meta develops is going to be very intriguing to me with what Khan has already been willing to pull out. From there, we hop to the mid lane, and while we do talk about the importance of those side lanes, and I'm sure they will have massive influence over the matchup today, we're going to talk about the duo of mid jungle, because in so many ways, Kadril, to me, that has become more and more the focus of Worlds as we narrow in towards the finals here.
Yeah, mid jungle is the meat of the team. It's the main course. The side lanes are the side dishes, but everything will come down to this mid jungle, and they play so much different. If you just look at the champion pools, you've got Damwon on one side, which is very aggressive, and EDG on the other side, which is very scaling heavy. So just look at the semi-finals mid jungle pools, right? On the left, you've got Damwon, Lee Sin Syndra, Lee Sin LeBlanc, Talon Zoe, massive gank setup, massive kill pressure on the enemy mid, massive single target damage to get mid push to move to side. EDG on the opposite side, Olaf Azir, Jarvan Orianna, Jarvan Victor, these are massive teamfight champions, spiking at level 6. Not really looking for so much gank setup, but more so push-outs and good bases for objective timers and team fights, which is EDG's bread and butter.
Absolutely, and I think that's a big reason why we're seeing so much Jarvan from EDG, because of kind of the meta shift here. They were so relying on Mako in the LPL to be that primary form of Engage, where he's playing the Leonis, he's playing these Engage champs. And with him playing more 2v2 dominant towards Enchanters, they've needed someone to fill that role, and that's where the Jarvan comes in. Because as you said, you look at the semifinals, they were winning their games through 5v5, and the Jarvan is the go button.
Yeah, and it's almost like comfort right now, because JJ just picks so much Jarvan, and it just focuses so much on team fights. The way these teams work, it's so interesting. Not only in the 2v2s, but the draft, right? Damwon will early prioritize Showmaker and Canyon. They'll first pick LeBlanc. They'll first pick Syndra, TF, Lee Sin. This is their focus. On the other side, you've got EDG, who, they'll first pick a Jarvan, but most cases they're focusing bot lane. Scouts will go 4-5. JJ will pick a losing jungle matchup just to make sure their winning lane is bot lane, and mid jungle will facilitate and be more kind of flexible.
And now I know we're talking about mid jungle as a duo, but when I isolate those junglers, right? I see JJ having a really tall task ahead of him today, because he's taking on the likes of Canyon, who I think is fast becoming a piece of the conversation for a best player in the world, bar none.
Absolutely. Maybe best jungler of all time, right? The only guy who has more than one world championship in his role is Bengi, right? And Bengi played a very different style. Canyon has been so incredibly dominant, and the thing that has just impressed me the most about him is he looks equally dominant when his team is losing as when they are winning, right? He doesn't just have to snowball a game and rely on getting early kills to look incredible. He's playing Lee Sin from behind and making it look so unstoppable in team fights.
And I'm so happy it's a carry jungle meta so we can see Canyon really flourish. He ticks every single box you'd want for the jungler, and that's why he's in contention for best player in the world. I think both these junglers have a very interesting trajectory where Canyon started out in Challengers Korea and then into the LCK only on Damwon. The only team Canyon's ever played for is Damwon. Same thing for JJ. EDG youth team to EDG main team. Very young. I think he's almost like Canyon, but 1 or 2 years ago.
Right, of course, I do think that clash of styles is going to be very interesting. While JJ is going to have his work cut out for him in terms of containing Canyon in the early game, try not to let him get Showmaker off the ground, then maybe find his effectiveness in the team fights and ultimately bring it home for EDG. Now, in the semifinals, we had 4 Korean mid laners, and now there's only 2 left standing to fight for the Lang Kingdom and the world title. Our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, it's Showmaker versus Scout.
It's time for the biggest series of the year, featuring 2 domestic champions fighting for the biggest title in esports.
Out, Damwon Kia, they're going in. Gumayushi going down. Conan forced to back away, carrying Faker just getting torn apart.
Returning champions Damwon Kia want to win back-to-back, and while their dominance is undisputed, the semifinals showed that they can bleed.
Winston Showmaker finds Carrier. Faker getting burned down. But Kana, can he turn it back? Kana, can he make it happen? It is not enough. Damwon Kia will not be stopped.
Leading the charge is Showmaker. Having just defeated the unkillable Demon King, another star mid laner awaits in the form of EDG's veteran Scout.
He will not go out quickly. Now Showmaker in. Let's go. BDD at 1 health, but Scout is in. Scout is here for supremacy.
He and Mako have been the faces of the team for years, and now that they've reached their first World Finals, they want to continue making history.
Misfortune, gonna go in for the play. That'll auto.
Both of these mid laners are pivotal to the success of their team. Winning here will launch them into the history books. Don't miss the most exciting League Series of the year, Damwon Kia versus EDG in the World Finals.
Our featured matchup for the day, presented by Mercedes-Benz, it's Scout versus Showmaker. Kadril, what do you make of it?
Well, you've got Scout on one end, who, although he's been a bit quiet this tournament in a way, the finals were fantastic in the LPL. I think he's kind of overshadowed by people like, BDD having superstar performances, Faker, Chovy, Showmaker, all these people kind of standing that little edge above him just because of the notoriety they have. But Scout's been just such a consistent rock for them, and he's kind of like a veteran. He's been on EDG since 2016.
Those are some big names. Those are some big names to try and overcome.
They are, absolutely. And I mean, when you're going up against Showmaker, one of the things that really impresses me is how well he facilitates Canyon. We talk about Canyon, maybe the best player in the world. Well, he's got some help in getting things done in the early stages. Showmaker is so good at trimming the waves just enough that people can't actually fully reset it, at holding that wave in kind of this neutral state so that Canyon can come in, can find these ganks, can get kills, can get flashes, and they're able to do it so incredibly consistently that really makes it worthwhile to go for these early game 2v2s that you were talking about, going for the Lee Sin plus the Syndra and the LeBlanc and these types of picks.
So yeah, that's basically how Damwon function. Just mid-jungle, early gank setup, and whether they kill you or not, they get your flash and they keep you under tower. Now what does that do? That unlocks the map. They play through mid to side lanes. That's how they want the map to unfold, whereas EDG play the opposite way around. They play side lanes into mid, so you have more scaling picks, Scout especially playing these control mages, where when it comes to the late game team fights, that's where he will shine. If they can neutralize the early mid jungle stages and get the points in the game like this, where Scout can play Victor, can play Orianna, can play Azir, then that's where he will start to take over.
And as much as you have to look at this and say, okay, Showmaker is the favored player, it feels like this keeps happening to Scout, where he keeps being overlooked. You look at the LPL finals that you mentioned earlier, going up against Doomby, everyone had Doomby pegged as the best player in the world. Scout across that series, 26, 4, and 26. You go into the semifinals against BDD, who was having a tournament of his life. Scout, another incredible series, 24, 6, and 25. This guy has just been absolutely rising to the occasion when he needs to for this EDG team, and he'll certainly have to do that if EDG are going to be in with the chance today.
I'm going to jump in here because we got a minute 30 ahead of the opening show. Now it's time for the predictions, so let's see how the fans voted at home in our MasterCard Nexus on Twitter. 79% in favor of Damwon Kia. I'd say that's to a degree expected and somewhat representative of the matchup we have in front of us.
Oh yeah, Damwon look unstoppable. They've dropped 2 games the entire tournament long. They've looked fantastic from start to finish. They have superstars in every player, in every role. world champions from last year. It's really hard to kind of favor EDG in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, I'm going to make you put your money where your mouth is. So if you think it's hard to favor EDG, I can already make the assumption of who you think is going to take it, Pedro. Let's get it on record. Who are you going with in our world final here, and how many games?
I think it's going to be a 3-0 for Damwon. I think Damwon's playstyle is fantastic. I think T1 was able to kind of capitalize it on a little bit because of how flexible they were in draft with things like Lissandra, Poppy, these kind of target picks, Zillion, to actually win out games by neutralizing Damwon's early game and winning out in mid to late game through neutral objectives. But I think
chance for the LPL squad.
No chance. I think EDG don't have the flexibility that T1 did, and I think Damwon is just going to run away with this series.
All right, Azale, where's your head at?
I mean, I'm on the Damwon side. I think it's almost impossible not to be. You know, I do think that Canyon is such a difference maker here. I think he really is too much for JJ, but I do think that EDG can team fight with Damwon. I think that they will be able to get a game. I have it 3-1. But I think if EDG can have a strong early game, they can match in the 5v5. I just think they're not as well-rounded, and they struggle with their setups, and Damwon's going to abuse that.
Aligning with the fans, both my analysts, but the wait is finally over. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick off the Worlds at 2021 final with the show open.